Greetings to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. My name is AnnLauren Djoko, and I'm a senior at Washington University in St. Louis, studying philosophy, neuroscience, psychology with double minors in legal studies and sociology on the pre-law track. I was born and raised in the suburbs of Massachusetts, and coming to St. Louis for college was the first time I had really stepped outside of the East Coast. At first, I honestly didn't know how I would last here. I had only ever known one environment, and I couldn't imagine building a life somewhere so different. But stepping outside of that comfort zone ended up changing my life in ways I didn't expect. In St. Louis, I learned more about myself, but also about the world around me. I found myself in community spaces, listening to conversations about access to care and the everyday realities that Black families navigate here. And I started to understand something more deeply. These issues aren't distant or abstract. They're urgent and they're local. That shift is what pushed me to think more seriously about policy. I began to see that the inequities I was witnessing were not random. They are the result of systems and decisions that can and should be changed. And that's why the Congressional Black Caucus stands out to me. It represents a space where those realities are not only acknowledged, but actively addressed through legislation. At the same time, being in St. Louis reshaped my sense of responsibility. My desire to give back didn't just grow, it became more intentional. I started to think less about leadership as a title and more about how I can show up for communities in ways that are thoughtful, informed, and accountable. I've learned that meaningful advocacy starts with listening and then requires action. When I think about why I'm applying to the Congressional Black Caucus internship program and the C-suite internship program, it comes down to two things. First, I'm deeply inspired by the Congressional Black Caucus's legacy. What truly stands out to me is the audacity behind its founding. The decision for Black lawmakers to come together and assert their collective power during a time when Black voices were still being heavily marginalized in these spaces. To envision something that bold and to insist on representation that was not just present but powerful is something I deeply admire. I aspire to carry that same sense of audacity in the work that I do. And second, my experiences in St. Louis have made me want to find more tangible ways to give back to communities like the ones I've learned from. Being in those spaces showed me that awareness alone isn't enough. I want to be part of change that is structured and sustained, and I see the Congressional Black Caucus as a place where that kind of impact is possible, and where community realities are translated into action at a national level. Thank you for your time and consideration, and I look forward to the prospect of discussing this opportunity.